Only Pop Dibiase, the primetime capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the primetime ankles. So let's go ahead and get ourselves situated and get ourselves all the way in acclimated on today's show. And we have us a lot to talk about today as well, too. So let's go ahead and jump into our first topic, and that's going to be this: Georgia. Are they on upset alert this week? Are they on upset alert? Should number one Georgia be on upset alert against South Carolina? Now, South Carolina does have probably the best quarterback in the conference. Let's just keep it real, because he's probably getting the most NFL scouts drooling over him at this moment right now as well too. Spencer Rattler was a very, very talented quarterback coming into college out of Arizona, and he chose Oklahoma. But you know what? The pressures of Oklahoma seemed to be a bit much, and Caleb Williams came in and took his spot. And that's how Oklahoma works. Oklahoma is always recruiting top tier players. And if that top tier player that they put in the starting position doesn't work out, they got somebody to replace him. Caleb Williams absolutely came through and made his impact very felt very early at Oklahoma. Now he's over at USC. And now Spencer Rattler's over at USC, but he's over at South Carolina. And South Carolina seemed to welcome him with open arms. He knew that he was going to be getting a starting spot there. He knew that he would be the man. He wouldn't have a backup that was going to threaten his job there. So, it was a good change of scenery for him. It's a lot of pressure when you're a quarterback in Norman, Oklahoma. I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. It's pressure. Troy Aikman, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, one of the greatest winning quarterbacks of all time. He left Oklahoma to go to UCLA. So that just goes to show you how tough of a school it truly is. Now, getting to the game, Georgia has not been threatened at all this season, but they haven't played anybody this season. Let's keep it real. And South Carolina kind of was at a disadvantage because they played against a team that actually knew all of their plays, and that was North Carolina. North Carolina has the former Browns coach Freddie Kitchens there, and Freddie Kitchens literally gave out all the calls that South Carolina was doing. So you can really go ahead and put a line through that game and that performance, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to call it cheating, but I'm just going to say that they had an unfair advantage. That's all it is. And pretty much now we have this game, a conference game, very important game. And this is a game where they see as a tune-up for Georgia and a must-win for South Carolina to stay in the loop of things. Reason why I'm even mentioning this is because Georgia has had their issues with South Carolina over the years. And as a top team, South Carolina always seems to give them the game that nobody else wants to give them. We know a few years ago when they still had Richie Fromm as the quarterback, they actually lost to South Carolina, and South Carolina actually broke their streak up as well too. And I know that streak is, they still have an undefeated streak going into this year, and this is very similar to what happened years ago, to be honest with you. And I truly feel like now you have a South Carolina team that actually has a better offensive weapon here. They won that game purely on defense, but that was a different Georgia team at the time as well too. Georgia was very conservative. They had a great running game and they had a superior defense, but that defense was not as superior as their defenses are now. And that offense wasn't as good as the offense they have now, but really that quarterback wasn't as good as the quarterbacks that they've had lately. So when you look at this game, you have to take everything into fruition here and know that this is not going to be a walk in the park. Okay. This is going to be a game that's going to be very, very difficult for Georgia, because they're going to have to go in here and they may have to score a little bit more, you know, a little bit more quicker and a little bit more consistently against a much better team than what they've been playing the last few weeks. And I don't know if they'll be able to get it right away. So what I'm trying to say is this. I'm not saying Georgia loses the game, but they need to be on upset alert. And I definitely think that South Carolina is good to cover this game as well, too. I feel like they're really going to make Georgia work in this game because Spencer Rattler needs this for his tape. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, the guy is playing to get to the next level. They're a 27.5 point dog going into this game. It sounds very familiar to them being a 20 some odd point dog last year and beating Tennessee. But that's a different animal. That's a different beast. And Georgia, we all know, are the undisputed, undefeated national champions 2 times, not one, 2 times. And they've lost one game in 3 years. So, that's something that you really have to just tell yourself that this is going to be a uphill battle, but we don't have the pressure. If you're South Carolina, Georgia's the team with the pressure, and that's what makes this game that much better than it looks on paper. All right, so we'll go ahead and we move forward from there, and let's go ahead and jump into our next topic in hand, and it's going to be this. It's actually going to be